Hey guys, it's JP here with Rockcrawler. Wanted to go over our JKU Rockzilla build, some of the key features that we think we put into the system that we think you're going to enjoy, some of the other products that we've used on this build, and give all the companies a huge shout out because we think the build came out fantastic. Yes, it's still early in the tuning phases of it. The rear coilover assembly and mounting positions that we put in here is new to us on these chassis. One of the reasons that we discontinued rear coilovers quite some time ago on the JK was our old setups were based on 69-inch wide axles where you actually had to cut up through the tub, and being in an area where inclement weather is always a consideration, we really didn't like that, putting holes in the tub, having to try to seal it up and deal with just basically road rash and crap getting inside the vehicle. So on this one, what we did was we actually partially Frenched in the rear coilovers. So there's plenty of clearance between the coilover and the chassis, but we are not actually cutting through the top surface. We're only Frenching it in at an angle through the bottom surface, and the coilover is as tall as it can possibly get, but not, again, penetrating the tub area. Again, that was a huge thing for us, taking advantage of the newer axles that are out there. This one's running a Curry 60-70 combination, 72.5 wide with 3.5-inch backspace wheels, gives us enough room for full stuff, full fun factor, without having to, again, French into the frame and French into the tub as much as we used to. Again, this is a super feature for us, being the fact that we deal with snow, we do snow wheeling, a lot of rain. It's just not what we want to do. This Rockzilla build features a double triangulated rear and an independent 3-link front with track bar assembly. As you can see from this one, it has our PB&J lower control arms, pure beef and jealousy. There will be a long arm upgrade available for this with round aluminum bars as well as the PB&Js in the Elite package. Full systems as shown. This will be coming with fast CD adjust coilovers only. There will not be a just standard remote reservoir option. But some of the other cool things on this build, we started out with the Savvy armor, the Savvy front bumpers. I personally like how clean their bumpers are, with the hidden recovery points so they don't just stick out in your face on the bumper. Just looks super clean. Always starting with a Warn winch and a Factor 55 recovery gear. Rigid lights to help us light up the night. We've also got DCS rock lights in the vehicle to help us at night and provide a little bit of underglow. The Next Venture Motorsports Highline fenders gave us plenty of room to stuff the new 42-inch Nitto in a 17 on the Raceline beadlocks. I mean, the combination looks absolutely fantastic. The Savvy rockers, the Savvy trim kit, everything that's on this vehicle just came out amazingly clean. With this kit, unlike the JL one, there will not be a mid-mounted tank option. The only option for gas tanks is, as shown, a rear-mounted tank. This one is by Motobuilt. Worked out fantastic for what we're doing with the vehicle. It caused us to change some spring rates, and we're still dialing in the rear spring rates and damping rates because we don't just focus on rock crawling. I know that's the brand of the company. However, the ultimate in vehicle dynamics is what we are all about. And this also leads me to talking about our double triangulation philosophy in the rear. We don't do heavy double triangulation out of the rear lowers. Why is that? Because we want this vehicle to perform at speed as well as do well in the rocks. All this geometry that we have is based off of over 12 years of Ultra 4 racing experience, and to be able to do everything well is our goal. Vehicle dynamics, ride quality, do well in the rocks, do well in the dirt, do everything to the best of our ability and have one vehicle that does it all. You know, there's obviously kits out there that have front halves, back halves, and all this other stuff that you have to do. Our goal is to keep a Jeep and try to do the best we can for you as a potential customer with the modifications that we do, and not just make a Jeep into a buggy, but keep it a Jeep vehicle you can put your family in, you can enjoy it for what it is, as well as do amazing on and off road. That is 100% our focus. Ride quality, vehicle dynamics, all of that is our main focus, and we want to offer you a completely tuned package. Now, a little word about our 42-inch stand here. Yeah, it came up a little short with this guy, so we stuffed 2 pallets underneath it to get it up there to about 53 inches currently, and it still has a little bit more to go, but you know, that's the biggest stand that we have for displays, so it is what it is. It's a little hokey, but that's what we had to do to get it up here. Again, just a fantastic all-around package that we feel is going to give your JKU the best opportunity at doing everything well, both on and off road, without turning it into a complete off-road only vehicle. One of the other things we're actually working with on this guy is the inclusions of super springs for bumps. We've been working with air bumps from Radflow, Fox, and other companies, but one of the things we wanted with this one is for it to be extremely quiet off-road. So when we're getting into the bumps, we're hitting something that's more like a pillow, nice and soft, very progressive, but ultra quiet in the vehicle. It just makes this thing be like a nice vehicle for both on and off-road use without having all the noise that is common with air bumps and things of that nature. But, you know, again, what you're seeing here is a complete vehicle build that you can replicate on your own with all these fantastic aftermarket companies for a vehicle that's going to do absolutely everything you could ever ask of it and do it all extremely well. At Rock Crawler, we're not all just about crawling in the rocks. We are about the ultimate in tuned ride quality and suspension performance. So, you know, that is our #1 goal when it comes to developing a system like this. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or, you know, check it out online. But this system is going to absolutely transform your vehicle into something that can do absolutely everything. It's also available for Fusion axles, Dynatrack axles, and if Dana redoes their UDs to come out with a 72.5 wide axle, this will also function on their axles as well. And of course, again, with this wheel combination, 42s, raceline beadlocks with 3.5-inch back spacing at a 72.5-inch mounting width. If you go wider, say a 74, then you can go up into the 4.5-inch back spacing for a little less scrub radius and a little better turning. But we have the PSC ram on this vehicle that certainly helps us with the turning. It steers super easy with their full steering system. If you're a shop planning a build like this, I would honestly give this a good full 5 days of labor. There is quite a bit of work to this, and that doesn't include plumbing the fuel system or the extra peripherals, wiring the winches or anything else. You know, that is just the suspension going in with the axles. Another important thing is make sure you cycle your suspension. You know, check for clearance interference of control arms to the frame to make sure you position the axle brackets correctly. Yes, there is information in the instructions about it. Yes, there's information and instructions about how to actually do the partial French of the frame, but being, you know, you as the end consumer, you are still positioning within a relative degree of certainty. It is best to always cycle the suspension 100%. We also highly recommend and suggest the Curry rear anti-rock or Rock Jock anti-rock rear for all of our JK long arms, and this one is absolutely no exception. That is a big must for what we like to have. It provides positive feedback for the suspension when it's off-road and your front is disconnected, or if you went with another anti-rock up front. You know, just be careful. Make sure you are in the world of, you know, functioning with the Curry or RockJock anti-rock front sway bar. We are running 13-inch travel coilovers in the front, yielding 14.5 inches of axle travel. You may be over traveling their front bar. Their rear bar, with the length of the arms that come in their kits, functions perfectly well with 14-inch coilovers in the back as shown, yielding 15.5 inches of axle travel. And now, how are we getting these numbers? The angles, the operating angles of the coilovers are actually generating more travel than the stroke of the shocks themselves. You can also see in the back, we took the liberty of putting some of our no limits links in here with the RockJock rear sway bar assembly. In our opinion, they just obviously look the part and are a little bit beefier than what commonly comes in their kits. If you guys need any of those custom made for any of your applications, feel free to give us a call. We don't upcharge for changes in length. Since we make them here, we do have the ability to do so on a moment's notice. But that concludes everything about our JKU Amp'd Up Rockzilla build. You know, it should be in production in the summer of 2025. Again, it's going to be an extremely well-tuned suspension based on our 12 years of experience of racing Ultra 4, which to us is the ultimate test bed for off-road, go fast, and rock suspension, as well as tuned perfectly for the street. This is going to be the system that does all of it well for you.